I remember exactly how you feel now. I remember waiting for the day I'd find that perfect book, course, or video which could tell me exactly how to create the art that was stuck inside my head. The good news is, you've already found it. You're watching the video that is going to change the way you make art forever, because I'm going to teach you a framework that actually changes the way you see the world every day. And when I first started, I thought it was all about your materials and the techniques. In fact, I actually took a trip to go and get some specific paper because I'd seen another artist use it and I thought it would make me draw like them. And spoiler alert, it didn't work. But over time, I began to realise that chasing tools and mindless practicing was not the way to improve art. I in fact needed to unlock a way of thinking that most artists spend years chasing. This change in thinking would alter the way I see the world, the way I approach my work, and ultimately the way I create. So today I'm going to share with you my framework that changes how you approach any piece in any medium and of any subject. This in fact is not about adding complexity. This is about simplifying what you see so that we create an impact. This is how to think like an artist. We're going to go through art theory, but in a way you haven't seen it before. I used to read a lot about art theory, and for a long time it was dry and boring. But when it finally clicked, everything changed. A lot of art classes will tell you to go and draw a still life in black and white or create a value scale. But the thing is, they haven't given you the right tools, and it's about as useful as me giving you a dictionary in French and expecting you to learn the language. So instead, today, we are going to go much deeper. I'm going to show you how to use the value framework, which is going to transform your realistic work. Now, a lot of people think that value is basic or boring, but actually without value, we as human beings would have been wiped out a long time ago. Value allows us to perceive depth, and it also allows us to create spatial relationships. In short, it stopped us getting eaten by wolves long ago, and today it stops us getting hit by a car. Our brains, in fact, prioritise value so highly that we see the world in about 80 to 90% just value and only 10 to 20% in colour. This is why value is at the top of any how to paint course, and why saying it's the most important thing in your artwork isn't being dramatic, it's true. If you don't understand value, you can't create realistic artwork. Now, the challenge for us as artists is that no medium can actually give us a broad enough spectrum of values to recreate what we see outside onto our canvas. But this limitation often isn't spoken about or thought of, and so you sit there and you pick out all the different values that you can see in your reference and then wonder why it doesn't look correct on paper. In fact, your work often looks flat. Now, the solution to this is a value scale. But before we get there, you need to understand a lot more about how we as human beings process value, because it will help you make sense of something called value compression. And value compression is in fact the key to everything. It is the core concept of the value framework. So to understand that, let's take a better look at how we as human beings process light. Scientists suggest we see around 100 different values of light. Think of your eyes like a viewfinder, adjusting to see only 100 values at a time. When your pupil dilates, you see darker values. When it contracts, you see lighter ones. Therefore, it's physically impossible to see both details in shadows and highlights at the same time because your pupil would need to adjust. This is a fundamental part of the value framework. You can think of how we see a range of values, like a curve. If it's a normal sunny day, then we're going to see the most details in the lighter midtones. But when the light becomes too high or decreases too much, the details fade. This natural arrangement of values helps us perceive depth and realism, making it a critical part of the value framework. But the balancing of your values in this way takes time to perfect and can be tricky to start with, and this is why we have a value scale. Most people think they're to help you match values, but that's actually wrong. The real power of a value scale lies in compression. Compression simplifies what we see into a handful of key values, allowing us to create depth and realism without overwhelming the viewer with unnecessary detail. In my membership, we go into this in deeper detail, but for now, just remember that value compression is representing similar values with one value, not many. Doing this in your artwork really will transform it overnight. It also makes your art simpler because we need to put details in the highlights or the shadows, but not both. So your artwork is also a bit faster to make. Now, when I discovered this, I can't deny, my whole process of thinking changed. The way I see the world has completely changed. And my artwork, well, I haven't looked back.